हेलो इंजीनियर्स, कैसे हो आप सब? होपफुली यू आर वेल. आई एम ऑल्सो फाइन. सो टुडे वी विल डिस्कस द second chapter, ISTQB. So second chapter is all about the testing throughout the software development life cycle. It is 130 minutes. So let's discuss what the key we will cover. Acceptance testing, black box testing, component integration testing, component testing, confirmation testing, functional testing, integration testing, maintenance testing, non-functional testing, regression testing, shift left testing, system integration testing, system testing, test level, test objects, test type, white box testing, all kind of keywords. So these we will learn more in this chapter. Let's see. Testing in the context of a software development lifecycle. A software development lifecycle model is an abstract, high-level representation of the software development process. A SDLC model defines how different development phases and type of activities performed within this process relate to each other, both logically and chronologically. Example of a SDLC model include sequential development method, waterfall model, and V model. Integrative development models, spiral model, and prototyping, and incremental model. Also, some activities within the software development process can also be described by more detailed software development method and agile practice. Example including the acceptance test driven development and behavior driven development and domain driven design and extreme programming, feature driven development, Canvan, lean IT, scrum and test driven development, all those things. 2.1.1 Impact of the software development lifecycle on the testing. Testing must be accepted to the SDLC to succeed. To choose the SDLC impact on the scope and timing of test activities, the level of details of test documentation, choice of test technique and test approach, extent of test automation, role and responsibilities of tester. In sequential development model, in the essential phase, tester practically in requirement reviews, test analysis, test design. The executable code is usually created in the later phase. So typically dynamic testing cannot be performed early in the SDLC. In some iterative and incremental development model, it is assumed that each iteration delivers a working prototype or product increment. This implies that in each iteration both static and dynamic testing may be performed at all test levels. Frequent delivery of increments requires fast feedback and extensive regression testing. Agile software development assumes that change may occur throughout the project. Therefore, lightweight work product documentation and extensive test automation to make regression testing easier and favored in the agile project. Also, most of the manual testing tend to be done using experience-based test technique that don't require extensive prior test analysis and design. Software development lifecycle and good testing practice. Good testing practice independent of the chosen SDLC model include the following. For every software development activities, there is an corresponding test activities so that all development activities are subject to quality control. Different test levels have specific and different test objectives which allow for testing to be appropriately comprehensive while avoiding redundancy. Test analysis and design for a given test level begin during the corresponding development phase of the SDLC so that testing can adhere to the principle of early testing. Testers are involved in reviewing work product as soon as draft of this document are available so that this earlier testing and defects detection can support the shift left strategy. Testing as a driver for software development. Testing as a driver for software development. TDD, ATD, and BDD are similar development approaches where tests are defined as a means of directing development. Each of these approaches implementation the principle of early testing and follow a shift left approaches. Since the tests are defined before the code is written, they support iterative development model. These approaches are characterized as follows: test driven development, that means direct the coding through test cases instead of the extensive software design. Tests are written first, then code is written to satisfy the test. Then tests and code are refactored. Acceptance test driven means drive the test for acceptance criteria as part of the system design process. Tests are written before the part of the application is deployed to satisfy the test. Behavior driven development expresses the desired behavior of an application with test cases written in a simple form of nature language which is easy to understand by stakeholders, usually given when then BDD. Yes, given when then format. This is a simple behavior. A test cases are the automatically translated into executable test cases. For all above approaches, they may persist as automated tests to ensure the code quality in future application refactoring. DevOps and testing. DevOps is an organized approach aiming to create synergy by getting the development and operation to perform together to achieve a set of common goals. DevOps require a culture shift within organization to bridge the gap between the development and operations while treating their function with equal values. DevOps promotes team autonomy, fast feedback, integrated tool techniques, and technical practice like continuous integration and continuous delivery. This enables the team to build, test, and release high quality code faster through a DevOps delivery pipeline. From the testing perspective, some of the benefits of DevOps are fast feedback on the code quality, whether changes adversely affect existing code. CI promotes a shift left approach in the testing by encouraging developers to submit high quality code accompanied by component test and static analysis. Promote automated process like CI/CD that facilitate its stable test environment. Increase the view on non-functional quality characteristic. Automation through a delivery pipeline reduce the need for repetitive manual testing. This risk in regression is minimized due to the scale and range of automated regression tests. DevOps is not without its risks and challenges, which includes DevOps delivery pipeline must be defined and stabilized. CI/CD tool must be introduced and maintained. Test automation required additional resource and may be difficult to establish and maintain, although DevOps comes with high level of automated testing. Manual testing, especially from the user perspective, will still be needed. Shift left approaches. What is the shift left approaches? The principle of early testing is sometimes referred to as shift left because it is the approach where testing is performed earlier in the SDLC. Shift left normally suggests that testing should be done earlier, not waiting for code to be implemented or for component to be integrated, but it does not mean that testing later in the SDLC should be neglected. There are some good practice that illustrate how to achieve a shift left in testing, which include reviewing the specification from the perspective of testing. These review activities on specification often find potential defects such as ambiguities, incompleteness, and inconsistencies. Writing test cases before the code is written and have the code run in test harmless during the code implementation. Using CI and even better CD as it comes with fast feedback and automated component tests to accompany source code when it's submitted to the code repository. Completing static analysis of source code prior to dynamic testing as part of the automated process. Performing non-functional testing starting at the component test level where possible. This is a form of shift left as These non-functional test type tend to be performed later in the SDLC when a complete system and a representative test environment are available. A shift-left approach might result in extra training, effort, or cost earlier in the process, but expected save efforts and costs later in the process. Shift-left approach is all about the automation thing. Important that step closure, convenience, and bought into this concept. Retrospective and process improvement. Retrospective, also known as the post-project meetings. Retrospective are often held at the end of the project or iteration. At the release, milestones can be held when needed. The timing and organization of the perspective depends on the particular SDLC model being followed. In these meetings, the particular not only tester but also developers, architecture, product owner, business analysis discuss what was successful and what should be retained, what was not successful, what could be improved, and how to incorporate the improvement and retain the success in the future. The results should be recorded and normally part of the test completion report. Retrospective are critical for the successful implementation of continuous improvement. It is important that any recommended improvement are followed up. Typically, benefit of testing include the increased test effectiveness, efficiency, increased quality of test fare, team bonding and learning, improved quality of the test basis, better cooperation between development and testing, and so on. Test level and test type. Let me move on.